Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's time, and once again for another episode of the Third and Long podcast. My name's Shane Harris. We are unfortunately missing our brother in arms, Ollie Hope, who's a little under the weather. Best wishes to you, pal. To my right, this side is my old buddy Oliver Butler Henderson. And Mr. Perrins, how are you doing, gentlemen? How's things?
Ask me in about 12 hours.
I am over the moon. Probably like a lot of us, especially in the western part of Great Britain, in not enjoying a snow day. I was saying to you off air that the joys of it not quite being a snow day is that I've had a plethora of my high school students today throw ice at each other because the snow has turned to ice, and then complaining that it hurt. So I had no sympathy for them today. And snow days are literally the worst. Literally the worst as a teacher, especially when they don't close the school, because all you get is, I'm cold, because they came into school without any coats. Or like, oh, I want to get outside and play. Why can't I throw this? Am I throwing? Just don't have sympathy. But other than that, I've had a great weekend. I mean, considering that our national soccer team crashed out in the most Spursiest way ever. At the same time, the Bay Area is celebrating for multiple reasons.
Which we will get into, I'm sure, at some point. Speaking of the wintry weather, I went to see Alter Bridge yesterday in Birmingham, which is about a 2 hour. From what? On this day, I see clearly, Philip. Fantastic. Yeah. So, and it was terrible conditions. You know, full credit to the missus for getting us up there in one piece.
I know, mate.
So
you have to go to Birmingham.
I know I wasn't very pleased with that. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure of what happened yesterday's games, but I did have a little 7 hours with Scott Hansen this afternoon. So we shall go from there.
Kelly's not impressed with the Spurs comment, Phil.
If anybody was going to cost England the World Cup, it would have been a Spurs player. Like it's in their blood.
Spurs fan, be careful. I tell you what, though, yeah, I mean, my 8-year-old was getting a bit upset because he didn't want them to lose, and he is a Spurs fan as well. My eldest was round his mates having a sleepover, so I have no idea what went on there and how they were acting. Apparently,
you know what's going to be the worst thing? Was this your lad's first? Like, I remember for me, France '98 was like my first tournament where I got massively invested in football. This is your lad's?
No, well, my eldest probably remembers the Euros from 18 months ago, 2.5 years ago.
Okay. But like, did he get really invested this year? Going, you can win the World Cup, it's coming out.
Oh, my eldest was. My youngest is taking an interest more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I felt quite dead to it because I was quite devastated after we lost the Euros because, you know, people who get paid to score goals couldn't score goals on a penalty shootout. So that actually helped me more. When we went out on Saturday, I was quite dead to it because I was like going, well, my heart already got broken a year ago. I haven't quite recovered. So it's like breaking up with a girlfriend and then going, I guess we're not meant to be.
Makes me laugh, right? Says, Kelly's now I'm turning off, and it says literally below her comment, Kelly is watching. Shall we roll on to the
Thursday night game?
Egg-shaped taupe.
Before we do one quick thing. My first tournament was USA 94. I remember that. But my favourite tournament has got to be Euro 96. What a magical summer. Football was everything to me.
That was awesome.
I mean, that Welsh side that you had in Euro 96 was so good.
You know what I mean? The fact that all the games were played in Premier League grounds, that popped me huge. Shut up, Philip! Anyway.
I'm sorry. I'm not even trying to spoil for a fight. I'm really sorry.
Right. So 48 hours. Baker Mayfield's done more for the Rams than he did for Carolina in the 6 months he was there.
Unreal, absolutely unreal.
You know, it's one step forward, 50 steps back for the Raiders, man, because every week, I'm trying to praise them, and when they do something good, I'm like, yay, Raiders, yay! But, I mean, Baker Mayfield was only in the house for 2 days.
Not even that.
And yet he... takes them to town. I mean, like, I thought in the first half, because I think going in the half time, the Raiders, 13-3 up?
Yeah.
And then Rams scored two and unanswered touchdowns, and then they got a field goal. It's Jesus Christ, Raiders, man. I mean, the record is deceptive because it's two very, very bad teams.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean,
the worst one of those seemed to have got the victory over the least worst one of those.
Yeah, it's it wasn't the best game. It was a good outcome for the Rams. Yes. I like the fact
what is a good outcome for the Rams? Because they've got nothing to play for. Because they're not going to make the playoffs. They've got no draft position, so they're just existing.
To screw the Lions over a little bit more.
Okay.
It makes me laugh. After the show that Baker said that he got on the plane to LA before the waiver had cleared.
Wow.
He just knew he was coming to the West Coast.
Mad. Absolutely madness. I wish he would stop headbutting people with his helmet. He's going to do himself a bloody injury.
But didn't what's his name do that? The old Jim McMahon. He used to do that for the Bears. That was his
helmet back at them.
He'd headbutt them as a celebration.
Yeah, but his helmet wasn't as their helmets back then probably wasn't as hard as they are now.
I would probably say they're probably more safer now than they were then.
Yeah, probably.
That's right. Because of modern technology and that. But I will say one thing about this Rams and Raiders game. We've said it many times on the podcast, and it bears repeating. The Rams are the worst defending Super Bowl champion in recent memory.
Yeah.
Oh, all day long. I mean, all day long. They are 4-9. They are unofficially or mathematically still in the playoff hunt. Somehow. There's only 3 teams being eliminated. Like, Broncos got eliminated last night. It's mad. Absolutely madness. Mike White showed himself some toughness yesterday. Twice went out with hits. 2 plays, he was back in both times, including getting X-rays.
What a guy.
I've got mixed feelings about this, to be fair. I mean, he took 2 hits, came back, and then took another one in the second half. And then he ended up having to go to like a local medical facility afterwards, as Vince McMahon will say.
Indeed.
But surely, again, once we've seen already this season with the whole tour coming back in after the concussion protocol,
The bang in the back.
Yeah. After the second time that he came off, he legitimately shouldn't have been allowed to come back in, because they weren't in any position of leading at all during the game yesterday. Looking at it, I don't think they were actually ahead at all. They weren't going to beat the game, or they weren't going to win, despite them, being 7-5 at the time, and the Bills being 9-3. But they've got Joe Flacco. They have to call upon Zach Wilson. But it was just seemed very needless, and I don't like that. I don't like.
Interesting thing though, Zach Wilson wasn't dressed yesterday.
Boys, I've always said, right, and this may come across as quite controversial, so buckle your seatbelts and all that. But I genuinely think when it comes to organizations, player safety is secondary to the win, to championships. Players are being sort of up and spat out. Like, think of it in 10 years' time, right? No one's going to really care who Zach Wilson is or what he's done. If the Jets win a Super Bowl, that's all they really care about.
In the next 10 years, the Jets will not be winning a Super Bowl.
Hypothetically.
Sorry.
I see the Browns winning a Super Bowl for the Jets. That's saying something.
Hypothetically.
I don't think, in the rest of Joe Namath's lifetime and then Joe Namath's illegitimate children's lifetime, the Jets will not win a Super Bowl. Like, the Jets will not win anything. I'm really sorry, Jets fans, but no. The Lions will win a playoff game before the Jets win a Super Bowl.
They could make the playoffs this year, Lions.
Yes.
The Bills, though, have not impressed me the last 3 or 4 weeks.
No.
They look a bang average side. I mean, they wouldn't want to play the Jets if the Jets make the playoffs, because the Jets seem to have a number on them at the moment. Not letting them free flow and all that. I don't know if it's because Josh Allen's, ever since that hit on his elbow, though, he's not been the same.
I think with teams like the Jets and the Jags and the Lions, they are they've very much got that little brother mentality. We're not people don't expect much of us. We're not going to come out and win any Super Bowls or playoff games or what have you. So they basically have this we don't care mindset. It's a case of we'll do all we can to win mindset. And what have they got to lose at the end of the day? So the Jets have been playing well, and we'll move on to the Jags and the Lions fairly shortly. But as I said, they've got this balls to the wall attitude, and against teams like the Bills, who basically expect to beat the Jets in that mindset, and they did. But as Ollie said, they haven't looked impressive over the last few games at all. It looked like they're just going through the motions.
Another team that's not impressive of my own is up in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson. 26 from 42 for 276 and a touchdown. That guy is. I only watched the second half and the majority of the game yesterday. His throws just don't look on the money. It looks like a bloke who's hardly thrown in 700 days. Oh, that's right, he hasn't.
That's funny.
The Bengals made it easy. I mean, Joe Burrow going into this game was 0-4 against Cleveland. Cleveland should have played on this, gone, right, we're going to make it a lot harder. Probably playing Brissett would probably been the best way about it, but they paid this guy $250 million guaranteed over the next 5 years.
Have they kept the
So
receipts?
they almost feel like they have to play this guy.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
I mean, again, it's a classic sports example of cutting your nose to spite your face, because they've given him guaranteed money.
Yeah.
I like over the next 5 years. He's not playing well. He's not even remotely an organization with the coaching scheme and the background that you can kind of like someone like a Belichick, or even what Shanahan does in San Francisco, or even Harbaugh in Baltimore. They have that system. They have that core coach system that no one's going to leave every single year. Like, I mean, Daniels was there for years before he went. I mean, in Shanahan's case, he's got that mentality where he promotes from within. It's the same over in Baltimore. The Browns have been consistently bad for so long that they've made this decision, and then they've kind of had almost like buyer's remorse, and then they're kind of stuck with him, and he's just playing really bad. It's not even the fact that he's probably the most unpopular person in the NFL. I think his stock's as low as when Michael Vick's stock was low.
I think it's a bit higher than that.
I mean, I mean, do you think his stock is lower than Michael Vick's, or roughly the same?
Oh yeah. Fighting is slightly different than what he's done.
Sexual harassment, yeah. I mean, extreme sexual harassment.
Yeah.
I will. I like with regards to sort of how do you think his teammates feel about him as a person?
Scumbag. I honestly I said nearly a couple of months ago now, when I was saying about a quarterback that I played with for 2 years, and we all hated him. We he wasn't particularly a well-liked player in the team. He was very arrogant. He talked down to people. I remember the ones I was made. It was the first time I was made captain, and I walked up to do the captain's walk, as you do the coin toss. And he turned to me and he looked at me and he went, "Who are you?" And that's our quarterback, right? And I never forgave him for that. I've never liked him since, and I've gone to some reunion stuff, and that's just it. Players see that kind of perception and go, why am I fighting? Why am I cheering for this guy who's an absolute tosser? And the Browns organization, I mean, this is a football league that's have domestic violence abuses, drug use, substance abuses, steroid users, battery, all this kind of stuff. That players' perception does change about that, especially with Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been given the captain's badge. I mean, heaven forbid if he does. But are you going to go to war for a guy that's a serial sex offender?
There's that scene in Longest Yard where he's trying to throw the game and all that, and he goes out, "I'm injured, I'm done, blah, blah, blah." And then he comes back into the game because he sees his mates getting hit and hurt and all that, and the deal's been broken. And literally, you see the O-line going, "Shoop," and they just take him. And it's almost like, right, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it by myself. And that's almost like the sort of thing that Deshaun Watson needs to do. But what as well about Cleveland, they haven't got a playbook and a scheme that fits a Deshaun Watson style player.
No.
they've got over the last 5, 6, 7, even nearly a decade, they haven't had that style of player. They've had a pocket passer who can scramble and extend the play like an Aaron Rodgers kind of player. Deshaun Watson is run first, pass second type player, and that doesn't suit their game.
He's a scrambler, quick release at best.
Yeah, and it doesn't work that. I was so hoping the Texans would hold on.
I know.
Hoping.
I know.
Oh my god!
But doff my cap here. That 2-minute drive by Dak for 98 yards was on the money. The throws were brilliant, the runs were brilliant, and Zeke finished off with a really good touchdown in the end. It was a brilliant, brilliant drive to finish up with. And that catch by Noah Brown in between two defenders, pinpoint pass as well, is absolutely brilliant. Superb. But Texans, what have they got to do?
You got to feel for teams like that, haven't you? You know, when if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. It's like you've got PS who played really well. He rushed for 78 yards and he got a touchdown in himself. And I think the fact that they were in position, they were within touching distance of beating one of the favourites for the NFC. And the fact that Dallas would have been, they would have been 10-4. They would have been 9-4.
Yeah.
But like I said, like you said, Ollie, what more have they got to do?
Yeah, it's mad. I
will say, I mean, despite them being 10-3, I am still not sold on the Cowboys. I mean, they've lost to the Eagles this year already. They beat in terms of like the who have they beaten? They lost to the Bucks. They beat the Bengals in a 3-point game. They lost to the Giants, or they beat the Giants in a 1-score game. They beat the Commanders, beat the Rams, lost to the Eagles, destroyed the Lions, beat the Bears, lost to the Packers, just ran over the Vikings, beat the Giants in a close game, demolished the Colts. I mean, they are beating mid to poor teams with the exception of when they played the Vikings. I mean, they've lost, to the Eagles. They're going to play the Eagles again in a couple of weeks. They play the Jaguars this weekend. I mean, the following fixtures, they'll have Jaguars, Eagles, Titans, and Commanders. I don't think Dallas are all that.
I would say now, if Dallas played Detroit now, Lions would win.
Oh, and we'll.
I mean, we're going to them in a minute.
I mean, them playing the Eagles will be the biggest decider because I think Philly are going to be the overwhelming favorites for the NFC because they just look like the complete offensive package. But yeah, I'm not even being anti-Dallas. I just watching the game yesterday, you wouldn't know who was the worst team in the NFL and who were one of the best teams in the NFL because the Texans were so dominant for such long periods of time. They always felt like in the fourth quarter, that's when Dallas turned it up.
Yeah.
And even on the last drive, when I think Zeke got the last touchdown, it was scrappy. It was really scrappy. But that's just how I feel about Dallas. I just don't want Dallas to win a championship.
No one wants Dallas to win a championship.
No, I don't, because we never hear the end of it. Like I like the fact that the last time Dallas were relevant was when VHS players were still a thing.
I mean, we have that circle, don't we? We see that circle goes around the social media, Dallas fans, and it goes, no, about there, the moment it's coming out, it's going to win it, we're going to win it. It's like, must be how the rest of the world or rest of UK see us English fans. Must be.
Do you know what? That was exactly what I was going to say next. 100%. If you won the World Cup, we never hear the end of it.
Oh, absolutely. Was that me?
No, whoops.
Oh, that's me.
So who's pressed about
the ESPN scoreboard up and it just plays an advert every now and then.
Yeah, I love ESPN. ESPN's my go-to. We are not sponsored by ESPN, but if they want to.
Brought to you by Verizon. I'd love it if it was
Detroit are found some form. What's that? 6 and 7 they won now?
They won 5 and 6. Sorry, Ollie. I hate to correct you, but they won 5 in the last 6.
Oh.
And they were mightily unlucky against Buffalo.
They
are. But Kirk Cousins threw for 425 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still wasn't enough to win the game. I mean, Jameson Williams, January 10th, tears his ACL in the NCC Championship final for Alabama. His first reception of the 2022 season as an NFL player goes for a 65-yard touchdown. Welcome to the NFL, young man. Welcome to the NFL. That's one of the plays I did manage to see on my phone as I was meant to supervising kids and making sure they don't bounce their heads off walls and stuff. But yeah, it was a fair play to the Lions. Dan Campbell has them running through literally Fords in Ford Field.
And I love him. I actually love him. He's such even listen to him talking at a press conference. I mean, I'm just so engaged because he speaks with so much, and we get so used to it in the NFL press conferences where Belichick, no emotion. Kyle Shanahan, no emotion.
Yeah.
Other head coaches, no emotion. Well, he taught every word that he says, he means it. And I mean, and just sitting watching on the TV, I'm just watching. Jesus Christ, I'd love to play. I'd love to play for this guy. And these players,
you would, wouldn't you? Yes.
I mean, he's getting the best out of Jared Goff, who, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, who's got the better trade, taking the Super Bowl out of the equation? LA with Stafford or Detroit with Jared Goff? Because I think Jared Goff is just playing such good football the last 2 seasons, but this in particular.
Jared Goff looks like the number 1 pick that he was.
Yeah. I mean, I always rated him. It just happened to be that he played for the Rams. I've always thought he was a really good quarterback, and he was moments away of almost winning a Super Bowl years and years and years ago against Brady. I mean, not everybody
nowhere
can go
near winning the Super Bowl.
Not everybody can go against Brady and beat him on their first go.
Not yet.
But I'm not. I'm sorry, Shane. I'm just speaking my piece here about Jared Goff.
Go on.
I'm just a big fan of Goff, and again, he's reveling in it. There's other players in that system that are reveling in it as well. I'm just really happy for Detroit. I'm also happy that my wife.
St. Brown, Reynolds. There is some good wide receivers there.
It's
so much that the rumors is that Jared Goff will likely to be a starter this next year. They will not be looking at a quarterback one of these.
Good. I generally thought that would be the case as well. I think when we talked about him at the beginning of the season, when they weren't doing so good and they were losing games, I again just watching things like Hard Knocks and listen to reporters talk about Jared Goff, and I just remember watching Hard Knocks and you had all these little kids come running up to him with their little Goff jerseys on, and he's signing stuff, and I went, this is a guy that's just embraced this culture.
Detroit life.
Very even when they're losing, and it's almost like a Newcastle United mentality of, we don't care if you lose, we care if you don't try. And this team is trying. And even when they've got pounced, and even when they've lost close games or they've been scoring 40 points but they've conceded 44, it's a team that just is trying, and the fans are buying into that culture. And that will just that will take time. Whether or not it happens this season or next season, the Lions will become a very, very good team under Campbell.
I think it's helped drafting Hutch, having that Michigan boy play, who spent his whole life. Obviously, he went to Michigan, school in Michigan. He went to Michigan University, and now he plays for Detroit. So he spent his whole life in this city, and in this state.
It makes such a difference, doesn't it? I mean, we talk about in who was it? Pickett in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Hometown boy, it means so much to him. It's the same in the Bay Area with McCaffrey, who grew up in San Francisco. His dad, coached the 49ers. He's in that area. Same with Kyle Shanahan. He grew up in that Bay Area, and it makes such a difference when you have players that get the culture before they even walk into the building and get that paycheck. They want to be there, and I think that makes such a difference.
It does help massively when you're there, you're passionate about the franchise, not there just for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. All day long.
It was nice to see DJ Chark earn his paycheck this week by pitching in with a touchdown. But something quite rare happened in this game as well. Jefferson did not get on the score sheet.
He still had 223 yards, though.
that's a beast number. But still, that's insane, isn't it? He's unreal. But as I said, it's sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and this time he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there was one. They said he stepped out of bounds. From the camera angles I've seen, I don't actually think his foot touched the white. His foot was down and his heel wasn't down, but who knows? They've probably got 1,000,002 more camera angles than what I've seen. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Detroit just didn't let Minnesota do anything, and it was brilliant. Loved it. And a bit like Jaguars stopping Derrick Henry in the second, third, and fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Puts 100 yards up in the first quarter, and then does sod all for the rest of the game. I can see Titans not getting the number one, winning that division. I can really think Jags have started to get a bit of momentum back. They've won 2 of the last 3. They've got a fairly easier run in. I could see the Jags pipping the Titans. Titans are not impressing me at the moment at all. And I don't see Tannehill starting next season as a quarterback. And I don't even think Vrabel will be there at the end of the year either.
I think the Titans are the very epitome of a hot and cold team. 1 week you can see them beating a big name, and the following week they losing to no disrespect to the Jags, but to the Jags. And the fact that I think the Jags now, again, as I said earlier, with the other teams that nobody expects anything from, I think they're building something in Jacksonville. The likes of Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Agnew, Lawrence, Evan Engram, they've got a lot of people who can make plays. Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, people like that. I think they're going to be dangerous. And give it a year or two. If the pieces stay in place, I think they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, lost a year on him because of the monstrosity they had before, like Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson steadied that ship. He's bringing players in that he fits his world that are proper professionals, not showboaters or idiots or someone goes. I mean, there's a rumor going around that Urban Myers didn't know who JJ Watt was.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently he goes, I hear that 99's really good. I have no, who is he? He was like,
I'm serious, but
that would surprise me, but not surprise me at the same time.
Someone's like Kyler Murray not knowing who Harry Kane was. Yeah. Some of the Cardinals posted on their TikTok. It's like he thought Harry Kane was a bloody hockey player.
Yeah, he'd know him if he had a gamer tag.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just shows with Tennessee, if you stop Henry, they're nothing.
And that was literally yesterday. I mean, when they kept coming back to red zone and they were showing the Titan offense, it was Derrick Henry. I don't remember a pass, a catch, all the big movement, all the moving of the chains was Derrick Henry. And there was one instance where it was more or less the entirety of the Jags defense just jumping on top of Henry to get him down. But yeah, they're terrifyingly one-dimensional, and it's not, if I was Tennessee Titans fan, I would be terrifyingly concerned about postseason and beyond, because Tannehill's window is shut, the team's window is shutting, and it pains me to say, but rebuild.
It even says something though. I mean, look at the stats. Okay, yes, Westbrook Keeney had a score, and so did Onikawa. No other. I mean, he's passed the ball around quite a few other times. Derrick Henry still had 5 targets through the air. So even if he's out the back, he's still getting targets. And if you look at the Jags stats, you had Ingram had 15 targets. Zay Jones had 12. Had a brilliant game again, and so did Evan Ingram. To be fair, Christian Kirk had a dozen targets. They're passing the ball around, and they are using Etienne. Okay, he only had 17 carries, but they're moving that ball around, and they are starting to open that playbook more and using more things. I'm expecting a Philly special coming out of that place soon. I really am.
One thing I will say about this game, we were treated to a helmet catch for a touchdown by Okonkwo.
Yeah, can we not talk about helmet touches? That brings back really bad memories. Really, really bad memories. And it's like, oh, come on. Do you have to? And they even mention the dude's name. It's like, oh, come on. Scott, don't do that to me, please. Yeah, but I said it, didn't say it then. I'll say it now. And as I said like yesterday, he goes, that's bloody skillful. Just go ping it there next to your head and still manage to bring it down while you're running. It's not. It's hard to do it when you stood still, but while you're running, it's difficult. There you go. Phil's trying to find it to bring it up on the show.
No, I was just I was just adding a little bit to my my segment for Thursday's game for Thursday's play your Dilf right.
Okay, nice. Eagles have secured playoff football with a trouncing so much that they rested their stars in the fourth quarter.
It's true.
And they still put more points up on the board. Philadelphia were chanting MVP. Jalen Hurts has now overtaken Patrick Mahomes as the favorite for MVP. He's the only quarterback to score 10 rushing touchdowns in a consecutive seasons. I'm taking my hat off. I'm gonna, fair play to the guy, and I've said this several times this season. I apologize immensely to Jalen Hurts. I was trying to think of a better word, but that'll do. Because in the off season, I had you down in the bottom 10 of my quarterbacks in the NFL. I even had Trey Lance above you. I had a couple of rookies above you. I even had Zach Wilson above him. That's how bad I rated this guy. And to myself, any other pundits that doubted me, he's pretty much gone, screw you to everyone. Fair play to him, and he is balling out. Absolutely balling out.
So what do you think's changed? What do you think's changed from last season to this season then?
AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's a big addition.
I don't know if you've seen, there's Travis and Jason Kelsey talking about it. And Jason Chelsea was talking about his reactions while they were doing it because it was live on air. He goes, he was like, wow, what's going on? How have we got this bloke? What are they doing trading this guy? And if the Eagle players can't believe it, how would the Titans players feeling about it as well? They've traded this guy away. And all it did was to pay the guy. All he had to do is pay the guy. I mean, he's not even a massive contract to Philadelphia. He's not on the Christian Kirk style contract. He's on a nice contract, but it's... Yeah. I think that is the big difference.
And it's not just a colleague. You're also losing a friend. You know, and then you've got to go into a new organization, get to know people as people, but also get to know how they play, where they play, what they do, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And it's a whole new ball game, for lack of a better term. But he's come in and he's flourished.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that Nick Sirianni offense has worked. I mean, Ollie said from day one that he's going to be his coach of the year, and the way it's going, he's going to be coach of the year full stop anyway. I mean, we'll have our awards going out Super Bowl week anyway, so we'll have our votes going up and all that as well, and we'll announce the winners, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant. It's another one. The Giants had Barkley stopped, and that's their offense stopped. It's mad.
They made a Giants team who have beaten the Ravens this year as well, and beaten many other good teams. They made them look awful. But I will say one thing, Phil. I don't know if you noticed, Minshew Mania was running wild, brother.
Well, he did. He did. But didn't he get like minus? Like I'm just looking at his
minus a yard. Minus a yard.
So he had one carry for minus a yard with an average of -1 yard, and his longest was -1 yard. He didn't get a passing attempt. Oh, I just love Minshew Mania. I love him. I think
It'd be like running wild and more of running mild.
No, I guess, yeah.
I mean, Dan Jones wasn't that bad. He had 18 from 27 attempts for 169 yards. Oh, yes, he was sacked 4 times. I think now that New York's injuries are now starting to catch them up a lot, like LA Chargers.
Yeah.
These injuries are starting to pile up now. You know, the further in the season, their bodies are getting tired, and their injuries taking longer to heal and get back into it. It's a hard slog for New York now, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs purely for the fact that they're just going to run out of steam, which is a shame because they were brilliant early on the season and loved it when they beat Green Bay in London.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This feels so long ago now, doesn't it?
Oh, it's mental. Absolutely mental. What happened to your lot then, Shano?
Thank you. As anybody who knows, who watches American football can tell you, our biggest rivals are the Steelers, and any time that we beat them is always very, very sweet. Even if we do manage to do it with our second string and now third string quarterback, Anthony Brown, fair play. For the neutral, it wasn't the best of games. It was a case of how are we looking. Tyler threw for 88 yards. Anthony Brown threw for 16 yards. Tyler Huntley got folded up like a lawn chair. So we don't know how long he's going to be out now.
So did Kenny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, yeah, Kenny got hurt. You could see when he got up, he looked pickled, for lack of a better term. But, yes, always nice to be... Exactly, yeah.
You hear what we folks?
You can tell me what's Rick and Morty this afternoon, can't you? I'm trying to. Yeah, Justin Tucker is now the franchise leading scorer of all time. Which, to be fair, I'm surprised it took him this long.
The Ravens has existed for 26 years. Like, it's not like you're celebrating your centenary.
Yeah.
26
Not that
years.
I want to rain on his parade. He's an excellent servant.
Nice to see J.K. Dobbins back in action and crossing the plane as well to give us our only touchdown on the game. Fair play. Nice to see him back. Overall for the neutral, there wasn't a lot to report on. I'm just glad to say that we are now 9-4 and we are playing the Browns on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to as well.
You'd expect an easy W there, wouldn't you, Shano?
Hopefully, but stranger things have happened, especially with the fact that we may be down to our third string quarterback starting the game.
Oh no!
Well, I don't know,
especially with the history that obviously going back to when Baltimore literally overnight left Cleveland. The Ravens left Cleveland and went overnight. Didn't even tell them because of the new stadium. Blah blah blah. Cleveland hate Baltimore, absolutely hate it, and this is their Super Bowl twice a year. It's always one of those ones going, anything could happen kind of thing here. It's really, if you don't know the story about Baltimore, how Baltimore Ravens started in Cleveland, Google it. It is really interesting, and I've read about it a few times. It's like, that's brutal, man. Destroy a city in one go.
Oh yeah, and unbelievable. It was fascinating. I'll just give you a quick bit of background on it. I was watching as a kid. I was watching SummerSlam '96, and that event was from Cleveland. One of the bad guy wrestlers came out with a Baltimore Ravens jersey on, and I didn't understand the relevance of it. It was Lawler, by the way, Phil. I didn't understand the relevance of it. Years later, I'm like, that makes sense now. Yeah.
First half, the first 25 minutes in Mile High looked like it was a cruise for Kansas. And then the second half of that game, until literally you went out of the game, Russell Wilson looked prime Russell Wilson again. Until he took that nasty hit, which is probably going to end his season. He's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks at least with concussion. Were they going to risk him in game 1 when they've got, or game 18 when there's nothing on the line? Yeah. And then you got Mahomes just doing, here you go, have the ball. For like a 60-yard touchdown. It's like, seriously, man. Behave.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
When's the last time Pat Mahomes got picked off and had the same amount of touchdown passes in the same game. He got picked off 3 times and threw for three touchdown passes. Wow,
That's insane.
Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I did when I watched it, because I went to bed not long after the halftime, and I watched Russell get picked off for the pick six, and as much as I loathe Kansas City, and I do, I think I hate Wilson more.
you don't say.
And I genuinely do, and I've taken great delight, and I feel sorry.
I have no.
I feel really sorry for Brendan Pena, who, if anybody follows that Good Sports on his YouTube channel, he does his weekly review of the Denver Broncos plummet, and when it was like halftime, I mean the Chiefs were already out of sight, it seemed, and just Patrick Mahomes again. People love to suck the teat of the Mahomes family and the dynasty in Kansas, but. Yeah, 3 interceptions against one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, it was foot off the gas. And I mean, Kelsey doesn't look. Travis Kelsey is dropping things. That's not like Travis Kelsey. I've just been made information about something. Cowboys have just signed T.Y. Hilton.
Ooh, okay.
That's a bit of a out of the blue one. Wasn't expecting that one. Talk about more of that. I literally the Willie Gay pick six of Russell Wilson's just popped up on my thing now. Jerry Jeudy is getting very angry. He was seething.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Took his helmet off, ranting and raving, and then like literally 2 plays later, he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, he got 3, didn't he?
It's mad.
Hindsight being what it is, I think with Kansas City, though, you said that they took the lead early and took the foot off the gas, and then they became complacent, and they were playing what's called defensive football. You know, as it is with with soccer. Then when a team is within 2-3-0 comfortably, they'll sit back and defend. I think that's what the Chiefs did, but even you can't do that against any team in this league. They're all good enough to be there. You can't do that. Yeah, and you can't do that. And the fact that I think the Chiefs got lucky, even though they are 10-3 and they are probably in the top in the discussion for the top 5 teams in this whole league. You can't be doing that against anybody. And also, shout out to our buddy Brandon Perna. That's Good Sports on YouTube. If you want to check something out that's quite funny, fair play. He's the guy for you.
He's really good. He's really, really good.
Hell of a second quarter, though. 35 points.
Yeah. I was when I woke up and I looked at it going, Jesus Christ, that looks like a I mean, I had no interest in watching the highlights of that almost potential comeback. But I was going, ooh, okay.
I'm gonna leave Mr. Perrin's game till last of the 9 o'clock games. But is Gino's bubble burst now?
I can believe that.
Panthers look so much better under Darnold. It's quite weird looking at, DJ Moore's looking good. Although there was a couple of really nice kick returns from the Seattle returner yesterday. But Panthers, they're turning that corner now. They are slowly turning that corner. It's one of these things where, we got nothing to play for. Let's take the shackles off and do what you can do.
Yeah.
And teams are now finding out, like, Gino now, and they're like, ever since they went to Germany, they've not looked the same.
Yes.
Which is a bit,
it's a shame that the NFC South is such like an absolute dumpster fire in general. But the Panthers played really well. And I said this a couple of weeks ago because I went from like a week of saying, I think, Gino's, I think I might have mentioned that he could be up for like an MVP type of like potential, finish of the season. But the last couple of weeks I've been mentioning it on the pod in terms of he's kind of lost that engine, that kind of oomph that we all had at the beginning of the season. It feels like someone that's already checked out.
Yeah.
And he knows he's safe. That's what it feels like. Does anybody disagree or agree?
No, completely agree with you that one. It's like I've taken them as far as they're expecting me to take.
Yeah.
Now what can I do? I mean, their draft class is absolutely superb.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Wilton, Tariq Woolen is looking at probably a defensive rookie style season.
Yeah.
He's had more picks. Okay, he's given away less. Their offensive tackles been superb. They've got a couple of, Kenneth Walker as well. So their rookie class has been absolutely superb. And it also, Kenneth Walker's missed the last 2 games. Their rush game's gone right down.
Wonder where he was.
He's missed the last couple of games for injury. His rush game's gone right down. Could be a coincidence. So when Tom Brady entered the league, Brock Purdy was 5 days old. And he goes and literally puts 35 points on him, including 7 with his legs. And he scores that rushing touchdown, and they pan to his parents, and you see his dad wiping his tears away from his eyes. Over to you, Mr. Perrins.
Before we begin,
oh yes, Shano.
I mean, just go for the cat long because it's going to be a while. Go on, Mr. Perrins, the floor is yours.
All right. Now, in professional sports, when we talk about the absolute GOATs, and I've told this before, like I did an assembly a couple of weeks ago with my year 9s, where we talked about what it actually means to be a GOAT. And Tom Brady, bless his little heart, he was in the stadium in 1981 where Joe Montana threw that game-winning pass to Dwight Clark to beat the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship, which started a dynasty, which went on for 15 years in the NFL, where the San Francisco 49ers were the number 1 team. So Tom Brady has seen Joe Montana play. He's seen Steve Young play. And then he was on the field yesterday with Brock Purdy. I mean, Tom Brady has had such a great career that he's played and seen some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Mr. Irrelevant. And I remember last week, I can't remember which of us said it. I think it might have been Ollie being such a negatron. Saying, teams are going to have now film on Brock Purdy. Oh, they're going to suss him out. Tampa Bay didn't suss him out.
I did say you'll beat Tampa Bay this week, though.
Oh no, I did.
I did say it would take 2 or 3 games.
Teams are going to have film now on Brock Purdy. He's not going to be that effective. They know how to stop it. Well, looks like Tampa Bay and Tom Brady had no idea what to do in terms of going toe to toe with big cock Brock.
I mean, as I did say to you, he impressed me. I mean, yes, only 185 yards. Yes, 2 touchdowns. Okay, yes, he rushed once. But he looked composed. He looked...
Here comes the pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to feel like an F5 when we play against Seattle. They're going to have a hurricane of Brock coming at them. I mean, he was... I'm not getting on the hype train. I know I can easily get super duper hyped. But what yesterday showed was how much of a complete and utter fraud Jimmy Garoppolo was.
Oh.
Possibly, but I will say something there.
Next season, Jimmy Garoppolo will not be in the Bay Area, no matter how much all the media like to suck on the teat of that, because we're going to have Brock Purdy. And if we think about like a business point of view, Brock Purdy is on his rookie contract. Trey Lance is on his rookie contract. Bosa's going to get paid. Ayuk's going to get paid. There's other people on that team that are going to want to get paid. It would make no financial sense for John Lynch to try and keep Jimmy Garoppolo in that side when you've got 2 young quarterbacks that are literally going to go fighting head and toe in terms of who's going to run this offense for the next 10 years. So I don't think we'll ever see Jimmy Garoppolo back in the 49ers uniform.
Wow.
Unless he's fit. How high or how far can Brock take this team until he realizes, oh shit. He didn't. He looked really composed. He's almost like, I have nothing to lose type momentum at the moment. But then he takes this team into the playoffs, which you are pretty much going to be rolling into the playoffs.
Yeah, we're currently third seed at the moment.
So you are running into the playoffs.
Then
it starts getting real for this kid.
I was looking at like some of the interviews that he'd given, because he's Mr. Irrelevant. There's not much tape on him, and you got like the odd scout that were like going, "Oh, he looked the best in like the training camp. He looked better than Garoppolo in training camp," and all this stuff that was coming out of him. And if you look at like his college career, he had a really, really good career. However, his touchdown to interception rate was quite high. And listening to him talk this week, and he seemed very, very mature about it, where he felt in college and in high school he had to carry the team, and that's why he thinks he made as many mistakes in college as he did in terms of like the interceptions and the turnovers and things like that, where he was very, very honest with it in terms of, I've got players around me that can help carry this team. It doesn't have to be all me. If I can't make the first read, well, I've got Brandon Ayuk, I've got Jennings, I've got George Kittle, I've got McCaffrey, I've got all these players around me
haven't
that
got
I
Debo
can
anymore.
get the ball to. He's odd when he's not quite powerful in terms of that deep ball, but his release is terrifyingly quick and accurate. I mean, even before Debo got himself injured, I mean, he was putting the ball into places that I would go, ooh, like if I was the head coach, I'd be like, no. I wouldn't throw a cross field like that. I wouldn't throw it into double coverage like that. But he's making it, and the players are trusting him. And again, I know it's only 2 weeks. I know he wasn't expected at all to probably play this season. In fact, he probably would have been cut at some point or put on the practice squad. But he's making the most of it. And I think we'll get into the playoffs. It will be what it will be. But yeah, we'll see. On the Debo, he's expected to be out for 3 to 6 weeks. So he should be, I'm touching wood here, back for the playoffs.
What is the issue?
I think it was a high ankle sprain.
God, it looked a lot worse the way he was off on tears. Going on back to Brock, you know who he reminds me of?
Go on.
The way he's quick release and the way he stands there. Tom Brady.
I mean, we're also this generation of
just with a bit more legs.
Yeah, this generation of quarterbacks, honestly, and it feels weird saying this, they would have grew up watching Brady. They would have grew up watching Rodgers. They would have grew up watching the Mannings, plural. They would have grew up watching probably Big Ben. They wouldn't have grew up watching Trent Dilfer, but there would have been other quarterbacks of an elite standing where they would have looked, and Tom Brady is the poster boy for every NFL quarterback. Him, I think the Mount Rushmore, the 21st century quarterbacks, has to be Brady, Rodgers, Manning, and Breeze.
Yeah, when you look at the guys coming in now, the likes of Caleb Williams, who won the Heisman Trophy, Bryce Young, they're now Lamar. They are Patrick. They are Josh.
Yeah.
Phil, I will ask you and the millions and millions of 49ers fans watching this podcast as we speak. Do you see him being the future of the franchise? The reason I'm asking is because if you don't think Jimmy G is going to be there next season, how healthy can Trey Lance stay? Do you think because you've got such a high opinion? I know it's only been 2 games, but you obviously like what you see already. So do you think he could be?
Right. So it's a shame. It's a shame. Ollie Bear's not on because I am very much high on Trey Lance. I want to believe in Trey Lance. And again, if the season would have been what the season was predicted to be, we would have seen Trey Lance. Now, whether or not he would have sunk or he would have swum or we don't know. But what we can say is that Trey has played in 2.5 games as a 49er in the last 2 years. Okay, so we can only go off what we've seen him do in competitive games. We're not talking like the friendlies or the off season. We're talking about that 2.5 games.
I thought it was a bit more. I thought he played a couple last year and a couple this year.
Yeah, he played in a losing effort against the Cardinals last year, and I think he played another one before Jimmy came back.
He played 2 last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
I'm sure he played 2 last year.
And then all right, so he's played 3.5 games in 2 seasons. Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, I've said this so many times, almost on a weekly basis. Jimmy has been in the Bay for 5 years, and he has been healthy for 1.5 years of that. I mean, 2 seasons where he's been out completely. So, I mean, we've seen what Jimmy does. Jimmy is a game manager that won't win you games, but he will be the reason why you lose games, and hence the NFC Championship last year, the Super Bowl a couple of years prior. Jimmy G is what he is. He's not going to change. He's not going to become prime Brady. He's not going to become Patrick Mahomes. There's too much out there in terms of what we can do for Trey. But I tell you this, if Brock gets us to the NFC Championship game, win or lose, whatever happens in the postseason happens. I mean, that's the beauty of playoff season. I guarantee you Jimmy will not be in San Francisco next year, and Brock probably will be starting.
I put this on a group chat last night. It wasn't to poke the bear with Ollie or wasn't to get a bite or anything like that. I generally think Brock is better than Trey.
Yes.
I'm not a massive fan of
the
running
last
around.
2 games. I mean, they always say about like Trey has unbelievable athleticism, and he has such a great arm for a deep ball. Like watching him in training and watching him on the off season, or when he tried a couple of passes last year, like the deep ball, he is really good. He can really sling the rock. But we've seen Brock now, and we'll ignore the fact that he played 2 games. He played last week because I think he came in the first quarter or the second drive. It was something like that. He's played 2 games now, and he is mobile enough. He's got a quick release. He reads the game well. He's getting the ball to players, that was my most frustrating thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. He wasn't getting the ball to your key players. He wasn't getting it to Debo enough. He wasn't getting it to Ayuk enough. And Ayuk is probably our best wide receiver. We talk about like Debo Samuel being a massive loss for the 49ers. He is. But Debo can be replaced with Jennings. Debo can be replaced with Mason and McCaffrey in terms of that running back, wide back style. Ayuk is our best wide receiver by a country mile. And him consistently getting... No, he is. I'm not even lying. I think Ollie would be the same as well. He is our best wide receiver. And him getting the ball to him for like the touchdowns. And again, when Ayuk scored his touchdown, amazing. And
I think when he means best wide receiver, I think you mean as in the fact of natural wide receiver, because I don't call Debo a wide receiver.
No,
he is a wide back.
He's very good at... He's what I would call... And I guess unless you're a 49er fan, you don't really get this reference. Jerry Rice wasn't a wide receiver in terms of quick run 40 yards and catch it. Jerry Rice much preferred it was like a slant option where he would catch the ball after 10 yards and then run the rest. That was Jerry Rice's skill. That's why he's so high on so many statistics, like in the NFL for his position. Because he would catch after 10 yards off catches. Then, absolutely. Debo is very much of that ilk. He's just built like a tight end. I mean, if you've ever seen Debo in person, he is built like he's not your traditional kind of like wide receiver slim, but he's massive. Whilst Ayuk, again, like you said, Ollie, he's the most natural, I should say, wide receiver. He's got a safe pair of hands. He can run 20, 30 yards, make the fair catch. I mean, he is really good. And then Jawan Jennings.
It might be a bit like Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, absolutely. So losing Debo is huge. However, it's not necessarily going to be a deficit to how we play going forward. But yeah, going back onto like Brock Purdy, and we talked about Brock for the last 5-10 minutes, but our defense absolutely just destroyed Tom, destroyed. And that's something that it's like Drew Greenlaw, Jimmy Ward. I mean, even though the touchdown that never was, Jimmy Ward left Mike Evans in no man's land. I know it was like offensive holding in the end, but
I remember.
But I love Travarius Ward. I think his quality. Bosa had a quiet game, but if you believe that he was coming into like with a potential hamstring injury anyway, but he's still got 1 quarterback hit. I mean, we just contained Tom Brady, and this isn't prime Brady. This isn't even like post prime Brady. This is very much Brady at the end of his career. But we stopped them from doing anything. And it wasn't only till the 4th quarter?
Yeah.
When they scored?
Mm-hmm. It was I still love about Tom Brady is like Drew Greenlaw obviously had the ball, which he picked him off. Goes up to him, can you sign this for me? Brady was like, yeah, sure, man. Good game, well done, well played. I think that's up. It's class on both sides because obviously Drew Greenlaw's gone. I've caught a ball off the go. I've intercepted the go. Yeah. It's wow. It's like if I received a pass from David Beckham type thing. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
It's like it's that kind of ilk, that kind of thing.
I also think it helps as well. I mean, it was mentioned prior to the game, like the bitterness from Tom Brady coming back because he is from San Francisco. He is a 49er fan. I mean, I've seen him on his social media post pictures of himself when he was young in a 49er 16 jersey because He's massive.
Joe
And
Montana.
it was bitty when they didn't draft him years ago, and he's if you led to believe
Feel
he
like
was
Aaron
bitter
Rodgers.
when
Feel like Aaron
Rodgers is
Rodgers.
also a 49er fan as well. Also, Josh Allen grew up in the Bay Area. He is a 49er fan. So it's no mean feat that all these great quarterbacks grew up watching the great silver.
The
or
moral of the story is, if you want to play for San Francisco, don't support them.
Yes,
I was going to say, right now, Phil, can I offer you my hand? Down off the high horse. Come on now. There you go.
I thought I was going to give you some sugar cubes to feed that high horse of yours.
Right. I've said all along, I don't rate Tua.
Oh, you waiting for this as well?
Ooh.
Oh, yes. And that Tua came out last night. Barn Door, Deer in Headlights, and Car Van Noy.
Yeah.
Three things that Tua either can't hit or is scared of.
I was getting hit by.
Oh, I mean, not only that, well, what the hell was Mike McDaniels? How did he drum up that one play? 13 yards, fumbled, goes back 3 yards. Tyreek Hill's there going, there's a ball here. All the way around the back of the head for like 60 yards. What the heck was that? But yeah, I mean, Tua 10 for 28. QBR rating at 24.7.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now, is it because Tua is now showing his Tua-ness, or is it because he's still feeling from all those hits that Bosa gave him the week prior? Or have teams
Tua
and
being
defenses, or have teams and defenses now finally know how to stop this Mike McDaniel's offense?
Definitely that. It takes a while. We know that. It takes a while to work out teams and go, oh, there's nothing. By during week 14, 15,
yeah,
there's pretty much you've seen every single play that they run most times. You bring out the trick plays, the special plays every now and then, like Lions going for 4 and 7 and a fake punt. Having Penny Sewell go in motion to pick up a 10-yard reception is like, what the heck was going on?
That was mental.
But what the hell is? I mean, it's so bad. It's knocked Phil off his chair.
Sorry, I'm going to put my laptop in. It's about to die. Yeah.
But I think the wheels have come off in Miami. They've lost the last 2 games, and they have to play Buffalo on Saturday. So I'm going to go with 3 for 3. Mike Gesicki hasn't recorded a single yard from scrimmage since mid-November, and considering he was one of Tua's biggest weapons last year, just goes to show how much they've regressed.
Yeah, always, and we're going to be blocking that person in the comment section on YouTube. Justin Herbert. So I asked the question because I've not known why this. They call him the social media quarterback.
I have no idea about it. Do we know why?
Apparently because there's loads of throws of him playing well for an average quarterback, according to what Ollie said. Yeah, I mean, he is a good quarterback. He's big. He's played through broken ribs this year. He broke his ribs in a game. Can't remember which game it was. I think it was around about week 7, and still came back into that game, finished that game. He could barely throw a ball, and yet that happened. How can you call this guy a social media quarterback when he is brilliant? He is a very, very good quarterback. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Really, really don't get it. What do you reckon, Shano? As Phil's still playing with a laptop.
As Phil, well, Phil, if this whole teaching thing doesn't work out for you, you can always go and be a lackey if you want. You seem pretty good with wires and that.
Banter. Thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't say that though. I mean, there was a teacher strike coming along. I might actually have to think about that at some point.
So as we were saying about the Chargers and the Dolphins game, I genuinely thought the Dolphins would walk in with their heads held high and walk into SoFi and take a W. but they didn't. And it surprised me. And it was 432 yards of total offense for the Chargers. And considering how injury hit they are, that's very surprising. Austin Eckler got on the board. Justin Herbert got on the board as well. And Mike Williams rounded out the scoring. But like I said, I was just very surprised that Dolphins don't seem like they're I think now would be the opportune time to play them if you're looking for a win.
It just gave me more reason to hate Miami. New York losing, brilliant, superb. You know, it is literally down to us, Chargers, and New York, who get pretty much that last seed. And you go and let LA win, you idiots. Just another reason to hate them. It's fine.
I mean,
you know,
just
whatever.
looking at this for a second, I'm just looking at like Miami's list of games for the rest of the season. I mean, it could really go off the rails for them very quickly because they then next play Buffalo.
Yep,
at
Saturday.
Buffalo. Then they play Green Bay. And then they play New England at New England. And then they finish their season against the Jets, who are still competing. So this could very much go radically wrong very quickly.
Oh, yes. Quickly around the table, tonight's game, New York or Arizona. And I don't really want to listen to what he said because he went against Patriots the other day.
Wait, what? New York against New York against Arizona. Do you want to try that one again?
New England.
There you go. There you go. See, your team lost. Your team lost to France the other day, and you want to forget about the E word for a while, don't you?
I can't hear you all the way from being knocked out at group stage. What did you say?
We don't claim we got.
Yeah.
Your greatest ever play couldn't do what? Sorry, I can't hear.
Quickly round the table, gents.
Oh, New England.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go anywhere else, are we? It's one of our wins I'm going to give, I think. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, we've had it on a little bit longer than I thought it was going. Yeah. Never mind. Love it when that happens. Thank you very much for tuning in, joining in, listening, watching, whichever you're doing tonight, tomorrow morning. We are back Thursday at 8:30.
Wait, is there
stay
a
safe out there.
Oh, no, not for England.
It is a bit cold and wet down in the south and a bit snowy. Stay safe, and we'll see you Thursday night.